ओम सर्व वेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरम तम गोचरम गोविंदम परमानंदम सद्गुरुम प्रणतोस्म्यहम. We started trying to study, assimilate this great treatise by Sri Shankaracharya, of which the name is Viveka Chudamani. And we have seen that he is not bragging that his book is superior to all other books of Viveka. He is telling that Viveka is the Chudamani of all our spiritual merits. And we understand by that this Viveka is not what is taken as preparatory to Vedanta listening. No. Till the end of our life, two things we have to continuously discriminate. One is what I have achieved. Is it ultimate or I have still to achieve? And this confusion happens throughout our life. One of my teachers used to jocularly tell one thing, seriously, jocularly, that according to the Gita, we find that first man has karmanishtha. Then karmanishtha janita siddhi is equal to jnananishtha yogyata. Then jnananishtha. Then the culmination of jnananishtha is jnana. That is what Gita preaches. But he used to say, we start that we are a jnani. And then we understand we are not jnani. Then we think we are jnananishthas. Then we understand we are not yet jnananishthas. And then we come down to karmanishtha. So this confusion in what we have achieved and what is still to achieve is a great thing, especially for those who take Vedanta as an intellectual pursuit. They are doomed because intellectually you may understand so many things. That does not mean you are experienced. And even if you are experienced sometimes or something, you have not realized it fully. So the difference between conviction, rather dharana, conceptualization, experience, full realization. Everywhere there is still distinction unless we fully realize it. And who will tell this? Viveka only can tell this. So we must have that powerful weapon called Viveka. Only then we have hope of reaching the goal. Second point is that we have not to do something to achieve something. This is the main point of Vedanta. We may do japa 1,00,000 times. What will you gain? At the most, chitta shuddhi, at the most concentration of the mind, at the most a little absorption, but there are crusts over our real personality. Over our real nature, there are crusts one after the other, panchakosha or whatever, so many types of crusts, so many complexes, so many shades of egoism. And we have to remove all of them. That is Vedanta. What we are, what we really are. But over this, what we really are, there are so many crusts. And due to these crusts, we are not able to realize our own real nature, which is our own. How can we earn our real nature? How can by doing anything we earn our real nature? Impossible. Only by removal of the crust, we will shine as we will be. We will shine with our real nature. That is Viveka. Viveka means to understand what are the crusts and to remove them. That is Viveka. So I told you two types of Viveka. One is that we have not reached the goal. So many times people feel they have reached the goal, but they have not. For example, in the Mandukya Upanishad, the Rishi, Gaudpad tells us, the Rishi tells us that in 4 steps you will reach the goal. Every step there is such that we feel we are universal. You are universal physically. You have to become universal psychologically. You have to become universal where there is no universe, and then you can realize the goal. So, everywhere, the feeling that I have reached the goal. Now, little experience here and there, little supersensuous experience here and there throws us out of balance. I think I quoted an incident that day. One so-called, let me add the word so-called, one so-called yogi came to my Guruji and he made him sit opposite to him on a chair. And the yogi asked him, so-called yogi, Maharaj, do you see light? No, Maharaj's chair used to be arranged in such a way that just behind him on the wall, there was the switch. So he switched it on and said, yes, when I want to see light, I switch on. The man became angry. I am asking seriously. He said, I am replying seriously. The meaning is that seeing some black or blue or yellow light has nothing. It is just a supersensuous experience. Now, a series of supersensuous experience we have to cross through. And then only we can reach the goal. And so, that is Viveka. We should first of all know, I am telling you something important. We should first of all know how many beings are in our personality. Taittiriya Upanishad talks of Panchakosha. But you can see there is a, yes, we can talk of that also. There is a physical being, first of all. Then there is a psychological being. And the psychological being itself is, for some people, the rational being. For some people, it is the emotional being. For some people, it is a willful being. But this is just our mind, nothing more. Between the mind and the body, there is one organic being. That is our organs of senses. That is one being. Now, beyond or inside this mental being or psychological being, there is a spiritual being. The spiritual being is that personality which has nothing to do with this world, but it is related to God. Now the relations can be of various types. I can be God's son. I can be God's father. I can be God's friend. I can be God's lover. I can be God's beloved. There are some people to whom you ask, what is God? The only answer they can give, God is my being. So what I am then? I am a covering of God, but I know that God is my being. So this I, which is connected with God, not connected with the world, is called the spiritual being. And this becomes the start of our real spiritual life, mind you. And this spiritual being, because of its relation with God, goes nearer and nearer, nearer and nearer to God. And finally, it merges into God. That is the real nature. So what is the real nature? Shvetasvatar Upanishad especially will tell you. All Upanishads will tell you. First of all, you have to know that you are a conscious being. So, I talked of so many beings. There is a conscious being. And this conscious being, if it is conscious of your mind or of your body or of the outside world, it is of no use. But if this conscious being knows that it is related to God, that is called the spiritual being. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, Kacha Ami or Paka Ami. No, this Paka Ami is wrongly translated as Pakka Ami. No. Kacha means unripe, Paka means ripe. And he used to tell, that from this you have to start, that I am God's what? God is what to me? More important is what I am to God. Because this I has to go on changing. And the I first can feel that he is spiritual being. What is a spiritual being? And it is the Guru's duty, I would say, to arouse that spiritual being in man. And then only the spiritual journey starts. Till then, all that is mental effort. You may do 1 lakh japa, you do 1 crore japa. As Holy Mother told, this will calm your mind. That's all. You have to change your consciousness. We have to change the level of our consciousness. We have to find, first of all, important thing is how we are related to God. And then let that relation become complete by merging in God. So I we can give examples. Swami Brahmananda, even we have found Swami Shivananda, always saw Sri Ramakrishna as their mother. Sri Ramakrishna showed different type of affection to Brahmananda, different type of affection to Mahapurush Maharaj. But for them, Sri Ramakrishna was mother and also the infinite reality. So I think I leave this topic here. I only wanted to point out that first of all, we have to find our spiritual being and how this spiritual being will get lost in God. Has it got lost or is it still there? This is Viveka. Having said so much about Viveka, this Viveka is the culmination, this Viveka is the Chudamani of all our spiritual merits. So that is Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya has declared. Now another thing we find is that every shloka of this Viveka Chudamani is not only beautiful, but very, very important. Some people, they have brought out a book, selections, Viveka Chudamani, selection of 108 shlokas. I would call it, that is Viveka Viveka, not Shankaracharya's Viveka. If you select something from Shankaracharya according to what you like, it is your Viveka, and we don't call it Chudamani. So, every shloka is important. I would say every word is important. Now, the traditional Vedantis tell us how to understand Vedanta. Those who want, I am telling their words and I am then adding my words. They say Pada Padartha Vakyartha. The method of studying and teaching of Vedanta in the so-called traditional schools is Pada Padartha Vakyartha. How the word is correctly formed, what is the meaning of the word, and what is the meaning of the sentence. Literal meaning, please add. Pada Padartha Vakyartha, Bhavartha, Gudhartha, Tatparyartha. Then you have followed the meaning. Pada Padartha Vakyartha is all right. But then, what is the Bhavartha? And what is the Gudhartha, the deeper meaning? And what is the indicated meaning called the Tatparyartha? Anyway, I just pointed out to you that these classes will be of a different nature. Now, we will take up the Shloka 3 and apply all this to that. Durlabham trayameva etad devanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshraya. Comparative study is necessary. What was in the previous shloka and what is in this shloka? There also, we had found this word durlabha. Jantunam narajanma durlabham. And then everything was more and more durlabha. Ata punstam tato viprata, etc., etc., etc. And here also the word durlabha is there. What is the difference? In the previous shloka, there was evam word was not there. Eva, eva word was not there, and that is additional here. Durlabham ev, trayam eva etat durlabham. Etat trayam eva durlabham. That means, in a way, all these are rare. Okay, accepted. But really, what is rare? Really, what is real? What is durlabha? What are the only things which are really durlabha? That is in this shloka. So, in a way, all those become not cancelled, but all those become secondary. All those become secondary because the only really durlabha things are three only. Trayam eva etat durlabham. Etat trayam eva durlabham. These three only are durlabha. And what are the three? Manushyattvam, a human body. We have compared this human body or other human personality with the most with the machines or inanimate things. We have compared this human personality with the powerful or biggest animals, and we have found that this human personality has a viveka. And this human personality wants to grow. The human personality wants to become perfect. The human personality feels that it is imperfect. The human personality understands that by changing myself, I have to become perfect. This is all human being, which is not possible in any animal or in any machine. And when and how we get this human body, we are not very clear about it, but we know that it is rare. How much important this is? Because in the Western world, or wherever it may be, if there is no belief or if there is no knowledge or consciousness that there is a series of births, janma, 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 janma happen, then we cannot understand that human body is rare. We are getting a series of bodies, and by great luck, I would use the word luck here because I will correct it later on. We have got this human body. And the purpose, we have to every time understand one more. Good artha, bhavartha, tatparyartha. Tatparyartha means why the Rishi is talking of this word. Why the Rishi is talking of this word at this place. And so, why Shankar is telling this is Durlabha? So that we understand that this is our only chance to realize God. Otherwise, we may get another chance, but when we do not know. So that is Durlabha. Durlabha means it is such a rare opportunity given to us that we can struggle here to get God. Manushyatvam. But among how many? Gita says Manushyanam Sahasreshu. That means not thousand, no, thousands. Among thousands of human beings, Manushyanam, Kashchid Yatati Siddhaye. Hardly a person struggles for perfection. So, what is the next Durlabha? Really Durlabha? Only Durlabha is Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means we should feel that we are bound and we want to get released. How many people know this? Sri Krishna has given an example that there are fishes in a pond and the fisherman has come and has put a net in that pond. Some fishes are so wise they do not get caught. Some fishes struggle to get caught, get free. And very rarely out of them some get free. But the majority, the vast majority, they do not understand the problem. They, by their mouth, they hold the strings of the net and put their heads in the mud there, and they feel they are happy and they are safe. Is not that the vast majority of mankind who feels that he is bound? He feels happy when he marries, when he has children. Sri Ram Krishna says, Sukher ashay sansare manush duke. Man gets into sansar feeling the hope of pleasure, and he never gets that. In the beginning, it appears everything is going on smooth. And when he becomes old, then Sri Ram Krishna has described what happens. And all of us know that very well. But the wisdom or the awakening comes very, very late in some persons. Now, here, neither man, woman, nor sannyasi, grihastha, there is a point of awakening. And this awakening tells us we are not what we want to be. We are not free to do anything in this world. We are bound. They say, give us freedom. And they think freedom means freedom of the senses. That is more and more bondage. That is slavery. So unless we feel that our bondage consists of our wrong knowledge, our bondage consists of our imperfections, our bondage consists of our incompleteness, our bondage consists of our desires, and these desires compel us to do some karma, and this is karma yields some fruit, and it is another bondage. So when one strongly feels that he is bound, he wants to be free. Why he wants to be free? Because his real nature is freedom. And somehow he has got trapped into this bondage. And so when that intense desire to be free arises in the mind, arises in the very heart, arises in the very depth of his being, then it is called mumukshutva. And it is rare in the sense we do not normally find it in the world. We find very, very few people who want to get released. And then let us continue with that Gita shloka. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschit mam eti tatvata. Here he has not said 1,000 or anything, but he has said siddha. Siddha means relatively perfect. Relatively. They are struggling. They are relatively perfect, they have gained, but they have not gained God. They have not get God's Sarupa. They have not got their own real nature. So, is it a lottery? Is it a lucky? What is the luck there? No. They require guidance. Our mind is in Maya. Our struggle is in Maya. We do not have the real struggle. We do not know our real way. The one who is gone beyond Maya only can guide us on that way. He can only show us what is our imperfection. He can only show us how to get released. He can only show us what is your spiritual being from where you have to start. And how does he do it? Not only by words, by his life. And so, Mahapurusha Samshraya. He does not talk as a guru, he says Mahapurusha. What is a Mahapurusha? One who has realized God is not this puny being which we call ourselves. His mind has become universal. That is the meaning of Mahapurusha. And people with universal mind, They have infinite kindness. They have infinite love. They have infinite power of identifying with people. And unless we have got their samshraya, samshraya means, as revered Nikhilananji has, Madhavananji has translated, protecting care of a perfected sage. Now, who gets it? One who feels the need for it. The sadhaka does not understand. Let me quote Swami Vivekananda himself. Swami Vivekananda is a struggler. From childhood, he wants to see God. And due to Western education, there was a feeling in him that following the Western method of rational analysis, I will find God. And he became addicted to that because anything he used to think that it is way to God, he would take it up 200%. And when he came across the philosophical thoughts of Immanuel Kant, Immanuel Kant tells us, shows us rationally that we cannot know the real nature of even a particle of dust, leave alone God. Because it is our mind, which is made of time, space, and causation. Through that mind, we try to know. And when that mind catches reality, it catches only that portion or that phase of that reality, which is we throw our wave on that and we call it world. World is that projection of the reality on our mind, which is made of time, space, and causation. Essentially, whenever we try to know something through our mind and indriyas, it will be like this only. Then the problem of same and similar appears similar from outside. Is it same? Modesty is mostly tamoguni ego. Then the guru has to tell it is not beyond ego. I will tell you several incidents. One incident is one of my friends, a brahmachari, was living with revered Yatishwarananji. And one day he told Yatishwarananji, Maharaj, this ego is the problem. How to destroy this ego? He told him, first develop your healthy ego. Then we shall see how to destroy it. So we have healthy ego and we have morbid ego. So this I don't know anything, I am nothing, I am this, I am small is a rubbish idea. This who will point out? From outside it appears modesty, it is nothing but morbid ego. And so there every case is there. Self-confidence. Swami Vivekananda tells us self faith in self means faith in all, because the same self is in all. Our self-confidence means my buddhi is all right, my body is all right, I have good feeling capacity. This is not self-confidence. It is confidence on some Maya's features. So ego appears as self-confidence. On the other hand, self-confidence appears as ego. Swami Vivekananda himself, people thought it is ego. Sri Ramakrishna understood it is supreme self-confidence. Anyway, so when Swami Vivekananda found that, he thought then there is some way must be there. And instinctively, because of his divine nature, he thought meditation is the way. And he was meditating and he increased that meditating. And due to Devendranath Tagore, who was a leader in those days, religious leader, father of Rabindranath Tagore, living in a houseboat in solitude, Swami Vivekananda went to him, Narendranath, and he started asking everybody, have you seen God? His idea is that let somebody tell me he has seen, then I will attempt with more zest. And his meditation was not useless. Huh? He has told, he was seeing many devatas. He was having several spiritual experiences, but he had the Viveka in him. So he understood that this is not God's vision. In this frame of the mind, he had heard about Sri Ramakrishna, and he was thinking that day, if he also says, I have not seen, Devendranath Tagore, what he told, why your eyes shine like that of a yogi? You should meditate. He could not reply to his question. Now, coming to Sri Ramakrishna, he was thinking, if he also says, if he also does not give me positive answer, how can I live? That is the yearning. And when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, he directly asked him, Maharaj, have you seen God? Moshai, sir, have you seen God? Sri Ramakrishna replied, I see him. I see him as directly as I see you. That means it is not a kalpana of my mind. It is not an imagination of my mind. I see him as directly as I see you. But he understands. Swami Vivekananda understands through Kant that what we call direct seeing is very, very indirect. Through our indriyas, through our mind, through our ego, we are seeing. That is not direct at all. Sri Ramakrishna knows it much more than Swamiji. And so his third sentence is, but I see him 1,000 times more clearly and more brightly than I see you. 1,000 is a symbolic word, always representing infinity. What is the meaning? I see him. We thought of this during our discussion on Aparokshanubhuti. I see him as my own being. I don't require mind. I don't require eyes to see him directly. And it is 1,000 times or infinite times clear and bright. Then the fourth sentence is, but who wants to see? They weep for their wife and money and children. Who weeps that he has not seen God? Now, Swami Vivekananda had all these four. He may not be weeping outside, but he was profusely weeping inside. But then the fifth sentence is Sri Ramakrishna told, and many of people misunderstand or misrepresent that. Some people think Sri Ramakrishna said, I will show you God. Not at all. If you do as I tell you, you will also see. If you do as I tell you, you will also see. You understood? You may be a brilliant scholar, but a definite guidance is necessary. And Swami Vivekananda struggled for 4 years. And Sri Ramakrishna had to guide him, both theoretically and practically. He had to correct his idea that God is a Nirakar Sagun, creator and uncreated. Sri Ramakrishna had to tell him the correct idea that God is all beings. And then he had to practically guide him. So, this Mahapurusha Sansraya is the third thing which is absolutely rare, necessary, and now we come to the most important word of this shloka. Deva Anugraha Hetukam. Hetukam is the cause of this Durlabha thing in our life is Deva Anugraha. God's grace, God's compassion, God's karuna, God's feeling for humanity, And so, I told you, some people ask me, Sri Ramakrishna always talks of Ishwar Krupa. Do our scriptures talk about it? Shankar, in the very third shloka of his Viveka Chudamani tells, Deva Nugraha Hetukam. Now we can associate this word eva that side also. Durlabam Tarayameva Etat, Etat Eva Deva Nugraha Hetukam. This is important because some people feel if God has given me 1,000 rupees, oh, great grace of God. If God has given me a good wife, 1,000 times blessing, God's blessing. If God has given me good children, oh, God's krupa. God's krupa is only in arousing the mumuksha in you. God's krupa is giving you this human birth. God's krupa is giving you a Mahapurusha Sanshara. So, supreme importance Shankaracharya is giving. Though we know Shankara is stressing upon self-effort, Purushkar, and yet I told you that in commentary on the Brahma Sutras, one place he tells, if we are doing sadhana with our ego, then it is like a Lokik example he gives, that a man with great effort gets his daughter married, not with the desire to kill that husband. So our sadhana becomes a widow if it is done with I. And so, Deva Anugraha to come. Sri Ramakrishna was teaching the right spirit of Vedanta to one of his dear disciples, who was a Vedanti, that is Swami Turiyananda Hari Maharaj. He used to come to Sri Ramakrishna quite often, but for some time his visits became infrequent, less. Sri Ramakrishna noticed it, and the boy who was used to come with him, when he came alone, Sri Ramakrishna asked him what has happened to him, why he has not come. The boy said that these days he is too much busy with his Vedanta Charcha. Charcha does not mean debate. Huh? Charcha means he was reading, he was meditating, he was thinking, culture. And so he thinks time will be wasted if he comes to you. That was not the full fact. He came to Sri Ramakrishna, and when he came, Sri Ramakrishna asked him, I have heard that you are in Vedanta Charcha. It is very good. But tell me what is Vedanta? Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya? Or your Vedanta anything more, anything else? It immediately flashed in him, yes, yes, true. And then Sri Ramakrishna said, if you have understood this, then you have to do manana. You have to reflect this on all your thinking. And you have to nididhyasana. It is not just dhyana. Nididhyasana is a specific Vedantic term, meaning that you are able to conceptualize Brahman. But other things come in between. You have to remove those things. Unless you do this, what is the use of only studying Vedanta more and more? Then a radical shift came in him. He continued reading books, but more emphasis came on realizing God through Nididhyasana with his own effort. So one lesson was important. After a few days, Sri Ramakrishna had gone to Balaram Babu's house, and there he knew that Turiyan Swami lives somewhere near, so he got him called. And as Hari Maharaj entered, he saw Sri Ramakrishna is talking about an incident in Ramayana. In Bengali, Ohe Kushilo, Karish ki Gaurav, Gharana Dile ki Paris Dharite. That means when Lava and Kush, Rama's sons, caught hold of Rama's Ashwamedha Yagya horse, and all fighters they defeated. Hanumanji could recognize them, and Hanumanji got himself bound, and then he's telling that I have allowed you to bind me, so you have bound me. And saying this, Sri Ramakrishna said, without God's grace, nothing can happen. And he felt it and was weeping profusely out of this feeling. And Turian Swamiji also started feeling and started weeping, understood, assimilated that without God's grace, nothing happens. Does it mean we have to keep quiet? Who has told it? Sri Ramakrishna says, God's grace is always flowing. You have to raise the mast of your ship, then you will catch the air. But supreme effort we can at uh, we can Vedantically interpret God's grace, but not today. But this is the Shankaracharya is talking of the same thing. Durlabham trayeva etat devanugraha etukam. Now there is another side to it. As I said, Bhavartha, good artha is there. Why is talking like that? If we have Manushatva, Mumukshatva and Mahapurusha Samshraya, we should not become egoistic about it. Then all this will get smashed. We should understand that it is God's grace which has got us Manushatva. It is God's grace which has given us Mumukshatva. It is God's grace which has given us Mahapurusha Samshraya. It is something given by our beloved. It is something given to us by our dearest. And so, we have to be very careful about it. We have to guard these things very carefully. And we have to use this thing perfectly and realize God. So, to give the importance of these things, not to fritter away these things, Shankar has told, it is Deva Nugraha to come. So, in this way, we have read the third shloka only. Let us go to the fourth. This very thing put from the opposite side. Because why it is Durlabha? Why you should do with that? Labdhva kathanchit narajanma durlabham tatrapi punstam shrutipara darshanam yastvatma mukto na yate mudadi sahi atmahaswam vinihanti asagrahat. Kathanchit, somehow we have got this narajanma which is rare. Rare, Devanugraha to come. Tatrapi, and even this human birth, we have got punstam. Please, Shankar is criticized as a woman hater because we wrongly understand that. Punstam, I told you that day, again I repeat, it is the tendency to make an effort, purushakar. Punstam means tatrapi. Even in the human birth, people do not make any effort. People become like the clod of earth. People in their life, they just drift. People become machines. Drift is the most terrible disease in human life. The whole society drifts. The Ganges or Mississippi flows in one direction. And people like to float with it. But to go against the current, how many people try? That is called the punstam. Each word is important if we take in the spirit. Shruti Paradarshanam, this also we discussed. What about so many Americans, Europeans, and today even Indians have read the Vedas? Tell me how to go, how to cross the ocean of Vedas? Har par, Shruti Paradarshanam. So here also we must take the spirit of it. the meaning of it. And the meaning is reading those books, or even without reading any book, have we come to the realization that God has to be realized? Shruti Paradarshanam in Shankara's own life, when he studied the Vedas, he understood two things. One must attempt to realize God, and for that, one must go to the Guru. These are the conclusions of Shruti Paradarshan. So, if we can have this conclusion by any method whatsoever, we have got the Shruti Paradarshan. If we really know that it is only to struggle for God realization is the aim of life, and for that the help of a Guru is absolutely necessary, then we have what we got Shruti Paradarshan. Again, comparing Shloka 2 and 3 and coming to 4, we understand that these have been taken as secondary importance. The primary importance is Mamukshutva and Mahapurusha Samshraya. So, Punsam Shruti Paradarshanam, the result is more important. Having got this, the main point in the shloka is having got this, yes, tu, and even but Atma Mutau na yateta mudadi. Mudadi, that means a foolish brain, a deluded brain does not make effort for his own freedom. If he does not make freedom, effort for his own freedom, because these three things would help him to go to freedom. And having got them also, he does not make effort to seek freedom. Sai Atmaha, he is killing himself, not in the sense of suicide. Suicide is only killing the body, but he is killing his spiritual being. He is killing his spiritual existence. Samvinyanti, he is killing himself. Whatever he knows by himself, that he is killing. Why? Asadgrahat. Graha means something he has got obsessed with something. Something which is unreal, he has become obsessed with that unreal, and he does not make effort for self-realization. He has killed himself. He has finished all the possibilities of his redemption because he is obsessed with something silly, something which he thinks very important, but something which is unreal. So this is adding force to his telling that Devanugrahitukam and Durlabham. Here also repeats the word Durlabham. Having got these Durlabh things, if he does not make the right effort, then he is killing himself. So come round to the right effort. Ita konu asti moodhatma yastu swarte pramadhyati durlabham manusham deham prapya tatra api paurusham. Here again the word durlabha is following us, manusham is following us, paurusham or punstam is the same, the quality of effort. Here one important word is swartha. Swartha is generally taken as selfishness, and we talk of three arthas: Swartha, Parartha, and Paramartha. Selfishness, unselfishness, and the real goal of life. But this selfishness, how it is going to help us at all? Real selfish, real meaning of life is the Paramartha itself. The ultimate goal of life, if we achieve, is that not real selfishness? Is that not real, the thing which you want? So the meaning is shifted here, not the ordinary swartha which we feel. The real swartha consists only in realizing God that he has already shown. So in that light we have to see Mudatma, deluded mind, Pramadhyati, makes an error about his own real achievement. even though he has got a human body, even though he has got effort. No, what is this? A man makes effort to change the world. He does not make effort to change himself. And if we can change the whole world, but not ourselves, we will not get mukti. Man builds air-conditioned palaces and so many improvements he tries in the world. But that is not the sadhak. Sadhak understands he has to change himself. He has to throw overboard the castings and then only will realize himself. So, who is that fool? Shankara is putting it in a question form, akshepa. Who is here? Such deluded people who makes error about his own real end. Even though he has got a human body and even though he has got effort in him, now here let us concentrate on this word pramada. And in this Vivek Chudamani and in some other places, Shankara has told us what is pramada, how pramada is dangerous. And he has quoted from a part of Mahabharata which is called Sanat Sujatiya. I will tell you in short what it is. Dhritarashtra always used to go into depression and used to call his brother and minister Vidura. And Vidura would console him every time, bring him out of depression. But once Vidura found that he is not amenable to what I am talking, so Vidura invokes his own guru, which is Sanat Kumar, and requests Sanat Kumar to please illumine Dhritarashtra. The first question Dhritarashtra asks him, will you please tell me about death? Because he was afraid of his own death, because he was afraid of the death of his sons. So the question paramount in him was death. Will you please explain to me what is death? Sanat Kumar said, O king, what you call death is nothing to us in our consideration. We do not give much value to that death. But I tell you, pramado vai mrityu, the proneness to errors, is the death. And this Shankara has quoted in Vivek Chudamani and in many other places. Pramada vai mrityu was told by Brahma Kumari, said Sanat Kumar. So this proneness to make mistakes, not being alert, not being aware of our path, not being aware of our struggle, wrongdoings, is pramada. Attachment is pramada. So the shloka 5 has told us that who makes error in achieving the real end of life, though he has got man's body and effort. So this is what uh, we study today. One more shloka we can read, but better take up next time. Vadantu Shastra, and let us take it up next time. So, today we have read 5 shlokas, up to 5 shlokas, because 3rd, 4th, and 5th we have read. And so, this is Vivek Chudamani, the great scripture by Shankaracharya, and we bow down along with him. Om Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmiham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.